Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the round table. My name is Ben Hedges, and I have here in the studio with me Holly Kellum from Newspeak. Welcome, Holly.
Good to be here.
And also our resident China expert, David Zhang from China Insider. And we have a bit of a crazy story here today about this young boy who was murdered in China, a young Japanese boy. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, so the 10-year-old boy in the city of Shenzhen, which is supposed to be the most progressive in the Chinese reform opening up in the southern part of China, he was murdered. He was attacked in front of his mother. The boy is half Japanese, half Chinese, lives in in Shenzhen, and the attacker did this on September 18th, which is the day that Japan invaded northern China. So
this was an anniversary of them. I think it was setting off a bomb on a railway track, right?
Yeah,
as part of their invasion.
Essentially, creating the excuse to do that, right? So this day is seen in China as a day of shame. Now he did this on this day, and this comes as the third case of attacks in China against foreigners. The first one we've seen this year, which was 4 American instructors coming to visit China. The second case was a Chinese woman who got into the way of the attacker, who was trying to get onto a bus full of Japanese students in China. So obviously the context makes people think that this is some sort of a targeted, hate crime or targeted towards the Japanese people.
Wait, is it obvious that this boy was part Japanese? Could this have been a random attack?
So that's a very important question, right? There's been videos that have surfaced on Chinese social media that are filmed in front of a Japanese school in China. So I believe...
Oh, it was a Japanese school that he was at?
Well, the previous videos were of Japanese schools. And so the second case, right, with the Chinese woman, there were also a bus full of Japanese students. Okay. And I believe that there are still ways to tell that this was the case.
Maybe he was speaking Japanese to his mom.
Possibly, yeah. But the thing is, what we've seen in the past year or so is that the Chinese government has increased the rhetorics on anti-Japanese sentiments, particularly after the Fukushima water release last year. They made a huge deal. They were saying things like, no matter what happens, we cannot trust the test results of the Japanese government. People were panic buying salt because they thought that, the sea salts from the water contaminated, that could cause us to get problems. So they were storing up salt. They were banning Japanese seafood imports, which, did a big number actually on their own fishing industry too. But then suddenly a day after that, they're like, okay, we can now work with the Japanese government to cooperate the eventual lifting of this embargo on the Japanese seafood product. So my perspective on this is that this thing has caused a lot of problems for them. China has been getting less and less foreign investments. Japanese companies are withdrawing. American companies are withdrawing. I think they need to not let this case be blown over to cause them to get other problems in other areas.
So the seafood thing kind of confuses me. So are you saying it's because of this case that they're going to lift the restrictions on Japanese seafood?
So the seafood embargo was put in place because of the Fukushima water release, because they were saying, they're putting nuclear wastewater into the ocean, and that's going to contaminate the fishes, whatever.
Despite China doing much worse for the environment.
Exactly, right?
With radiation.
Exactly. So they did that last year, and then suddenly, when this attack happened, 24 hours later, they were like, okay, we somehow can finally lift the embargo. Like nothing else happened except for this case, right? So that, a lot of people were thinking that might be the direct reason for them doing, obviously they're not going to say it.
And what would be the reason though, to make it up to Japan or to like a peace offering or something? Or?
Well, so since COVID ended in China, there's been a lot of foreign firms leaving China, right? You had production for iPhones going to India. You had a lot of Japanese companies leaving, and these companies, they've been here for 10, 20 years. So the withdrawal of foreign investment is a huge problem for the Chinese economy.
It's always been their cash cow.
Yeah, and so imagine now if you're an American person or a Japanese person, you hear that your own foreign nationals have been attacked in China. Would that deter you from going on a Chinese trip to China?
I see.
That it does a lot of these hidden things.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So it's more to do with like preserving trade, I guess, and that kind of thing. Not so much as saying sorry.
Yeah, well, you mentioned it. That's an important point, because to this day, we have not seen the Chinese government come out publicly with a statement saying that we condemn these targeted hate crimes on the Japanese people or the American people or any other race. They have not done that. They've not banned any of these anti-Japanese content, which are very popular on Chinese social media, like TikTok or Douyin, where they basically do these skits of them confronting, Japanese people, which are obviously played by actors. So this sentiment is going to remain. And
wait, what? There's TikToks of
yeah, it's very popular. So it's there are two genres very popular on Chinese social media. One is going to Japan or confronting a Japanese element, right? Saying, you know, like, we're busting you for, you know, like, maybe you wear kimono or you got like Japanese product.
Wasn't there a girl who was arrested for wearing a kimono in China?
Yeah, they get in trouble, or they face like a public struggle session where you have these like old aunties, like grandmas, come and, you know, swarm you and tell you how bad you are. And then the second one is the skit, right, where they basically play, you know, one person plays a Japanese man who is the oppressive one, and then somebody plays like a delivery driver, you know, he does Chinese martial arts to beat him up, that kind of thing. So these are very popular on Chinese social media.
Chinese Kung Fu is superior to his karate.
Exactly, karate is no match. And then also you have kids videos of kids like, you know, stepping on the Japanese flags, you know, like playing as soldiers, things like that. So a lot of people say, well, you know, there's hate crimes in every country, right? In Japan, there's been cases of Chinese nationals attacked. But the difference, I think, very important for people to know and understand, is that there's a systematic curriculum in China that teaches this period of history, which obviously is bad, but they teach it in a way to say that you have to remember that the generations, you know, today are still responsible for the things that they've done, you know, 80, 90 years ago.
They're kind of taught to hate the Japanese in China.
Exactly. It's part of their base of power. So,
Well, it's also a way of distracting from their own problems, right? The enemy is over there. Don't look at us. You know, the economy's fine. You know, don't blame us for COVID.
Which is very interesting. You know, anytime there's problems, they always say, you know, look at the United States. It's their issues, right, that caused us to have this, or the Japanese. So, yeah, it's just one of those disasters and very chaotic situation, and I think they're trying to save some face from it.
Do you connect the attack on the Japanese with the Americans? Like, do you think it's all part of the Chinese government's promotion of hate towards foreigners?
I think so, and because, like I mentioned, there's been no remorse in the sense that they have not come out to publicly condemn this type of behavior. There's no
at the
highest level, like the government level, right? The central government has not done that. That's a green light for a lot of these very extreme people to say that, well, and really we have not gotten a thorough, open investigation into any of these criminals that have done this. 3 cases now, right? So what is the guarantee to say that this won't happen again? There is really none.
I think it is a tricky thing because, you know, I think China considers these people who are very anti-Japanese, anti-Western to be really strong patriots. And so if they crack down on them, it's kind of seen as cracking down on their base. And their base is eroding. So I do think it's a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, it's an example of the way the CCP uses nationalism to stoke, you know, stoke the fire kind of thing. And
sometimes it goes a little bit overboard and it backfires.
A little bit. Well, our heart goes out to the family of this poor young boy who was murdered, you know, or allegedly, you know, murdered for being Japanese. This is such a sad story. Guys, do leave your comments below. What do you think about this? What do you think about the whole idea of the CCP stoking this hatred of foreigners? Do you think it's real, or do you think people are just reading too many things into it? I'd love to hear what you think. And a big thank you to David Zhang from China Insider. Check out his channel icon on screen now. We also have Holly Kellum from Newspeak, a channel where she monitors the media. Her channel icon is also on screen now. Of course, subscribe here if you're new and you want to see more videos like this, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.